Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to tell you right from the very beginning of this show that the Sonny Liu interview, we set the record from what I can tell. I did a search on YouTube, and the highest viewed interview that he had before the interview I did was from Box Mining, and they got 16,000 views, and that was in 2 years. Well, we are approaching 18,000 views in 24 hours. So I sent this tweet out to congratulate Sonny Liu. I think it's your most viewed interview ever. I know VeChain will continue to grow and has a bright future. Come back anytime. I wanted him to know how successful it was so that he would want to come back anytime. So, because I know that the story of VeChain is not finished being told. And so we have an open invitation on this channel for not only Sonny Liu, but anybody else who is running projects that I believe are going to have real utility. That's the only the projects that I want to invest in or we would consider investing in. Those are the ones that I really want to talk about. But anyway, I just wanted Sonny Liu and everybody out there to know how successful the interview was, and maybe that'll help us get more interviews with people like Sonny down the road. Well, Ripple had tweeted this out the other day about India, and this article is basically about how they were saying they were at a similar place with India from a regulatory standpoint that they were a year or so ago with the United States. And they talked about how they had put an article, remember, I think it was an article in the Wall Street Journal that Chris Larsen and Brad Garlinghouse had done. And I remember because I was in Boston at the time on vacation, and I remember reading about it. Whoa, that the yard man just drove up and they dropped the gate so that they could drive the lawnmower down the thing. But when they dropped it, it sounded like a gunshot. I hope I didn't just go back into AFib because it was like, it's freaked me out. So you're about to hear some blowers and some weed eaters and some, but my wife did this morning. She was like, are they going to come and cut the yard today? The yard looks pretty bad. So luckily I said, I think they do come on Friday. Well, it turns out they do. Back to Ripple. So Ripple had basically taken out an article in the Wall Street Journal to get, I guess, the politicians' attention. And now they're trying to get the attention of India. And so what happened was today, Leonidas tweeted this out, event and video added. And then it's Sagar Sarbai and Naveen Gupta being interviewed on Forecast Newspeak about crypto regulations in India on July the 3rd. Now, this is XRParcade.com. That's where Leonidas' site is. And any of you who haven't checked it out, he's got everything you could want to know about Ripple on here, and XRP, which are two separate things, by the way. If you don't ever hear me say it, if you're new to this, if you don't ever hear me say it, I'll say it now. Ripple is the company. My son is knocking on the door. I'm doing a video right now, but the Ripple is the company, and XRP is a digital asset. Two separate things. But anyway, this was these two guys, and they're talking about regulations in India. I'll be perfectly honest with you, extremely boring conversation. Anything that involves regulations is typically pretty boring. I'm glad they're doing the job of dealing with regulators instead of me, because I would fall asleep meeting with half of these guys. But anytime they perk up and talk about digital assets, specifically XRP, I start listening. So there was a 30-second clip here out of all this that I found interesting.
Organically. And I think a combination of CBDCs and digital assets could potentially boost that push towards digital payments, where digital assets will be the bridge between fiat currencies instead of potentially replacing them.
And that's about it. So he is talking to regulators in India, and he is referencing, he didn't say XRP, but he meant XRP. XRP is a bridge between whatever in the fiat, whatever India creates as their own digital asset. But the XRP would be a bridge in my mind into and out of the country, cross border, right? Okay. Next thing, XRP Crypto Wolf. UNICEF turns to cryptocurrency and fight against pandemic. UNICEF is looking to greatly expand its use of cryptocurrencies as it aims to respond to the demands of donors and support crypto companies around the world in their fight against the pandemic. Isn't it interesting how the current events have turned people's eyes towards crypto? This is only going to get more interesting. And then we've got this from XRP Crypto Wolf. The Bank of Japan has announced it will begin experimenting with a central bank digital currency to check its feasibility from a technical perspective. Collaborate with other central banks and relevant institutions and consider introducing a CBDC. I think Japan has been all over this for a long time. Remember, Japan is where this all started, folks. Everything. It's not a coincidence that SBI is this major investor. I mean, there's only one other company that rivals SBI in terms of investing in blockchain, and that's the Digital Currency Group, both of which are invested in Ripple. What a coincidence. Okay, XRP Crypto Wolf. Also, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau are opening up virtual hours for industry players looking to discuss innovation and new technologies in banking. The new FinTech meetings will take place July 29th to the 30th. Basically, this article tells you that, how people can go and sign up for that and all this kind of stuff. All right. Michelle Vandenberg sent me this. If you remember, Ben Rickert, I believe, was one of the characters in the movie The Big Short. This is a good tweet. The movie The Big Short came out a few years after the 2008 global financial crisis. It talked about subprime mortgages and subprime collapse. Fast forward 12 years, and the whole thing is playing out again in the commercial mortgage-backed security market. You better believe we're sitting here watching it right now. But this is bigger than the financial crisis. Uh-oh, here comes the weed eater. If it gets loud, I'm going to talk louder. XRP James, the digital asset investor channel official former Navy SEAL, sent me this. And then I'm going to show you something here. I may remind people of something that's very, very significant right here, folks. This is from DJ Peter Voss. You remember the article the other day? Crypto adoption to outpace internet if PayPal and Venmo rumor is confirmed. Well, there was an article the other day that was basically saying that PayPal and Venmo were going to get into the crypto business and make it where you can buy and sell crypto. I think that was what they were talking about, buy and sell crypto through these platforms. And it would be like, I think I read that there was like 300 million customers. Okay, well, it was presented as a rumor. Well, what I'm about to show you is a clip of Brad Garlinghouse and the president of PayPal on stage together in April of 2019. And I'm going to show you where the president of PayPal literally says that he's working with Coinbase. This is not a rumor. This is happening, folks. Digital assets are happening. This new asset class is happening. Ripple is happening. VeChain is happening. These genies aren't going back in bottles, folks. Listen, this is the president of PayPal right here. Listen close. I'm sorry you're having to listen to the president of PayPal while there's a lawnmower running in the background, but it is what it is. So he listens to Brad and Chris Larsen, by the way. Hold on, this lawnmower's right under my window. I'm going to pause for a second. I mean, he's right under that window. I want you to hear what he says about Coinbase. Okay.
Than like most people do at its surface level. I do think that what was unfortunate with blockchain is that everybody immediately associated with crypto. And I think actually, and I never met the inventors of this, although someday I hope that I get the chance to, that I think what they created through crypto was a incentive mechanism to embed blockchain as a protocol. And it was only the first application was this crypto. And I think because there was a limited amount, it would grow in value, and it was a great incentive structure for people to want to embed blockchain as a replacement protocol, because protocols in and of themselves aren't that sexy. Most people wouldn't spend their time trying to implement a protocol, but if there's a reward mechanism for it, that works actually quite beautifully. So I think that the reason we started to accept it and then didn't accept crypto, although we are now working with Coinbase and others to allow for the transfer of crypto into fiat currency,
there you go.
Is because it was so volatile that many merchants who operate on a quite a tight margin couldn't withstand the swings of the volatility, and therefore had to immediately take the crypto and translate it into fiat currency and pay a fee for that. And so the efficiency that was promised with crypto and blockchain was obviated by the volatility. And so as that volatility starts to even out, and you're seeing things like stable coins or digital currencies pegged to a fiat currency to try and stabilize that, which is what I think some of these banks are trying to do, is take the volatility out and therefore allow for more payments type of transactions through blockchain.
Brad, do you think, though, it's important?
All right. And then there was one other section where I wanted you to see that Brad Garlinghouse is on stage with him, right in here, 2430. Okay, here we go.
You see people kind of get flushed out, and you've seen layoffs in the crypto space. I view that as a healthy part of a nascent market growing, and but I think it'll force real utility in solving a real problem.
Brad, do you think that, sorry, can I ask a question, Brad? Do you think that the different blockchains are going to come together when you say that there's mergers? Do you think the Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum are going to start to?
No, I was thinking more about there's a lot of companies that have started.
Yeah.
Although I think what his question kind of underlies is, there's something like 2,000 different tokens and by definition underlying blockchains. I think 99% of them go away.
Yeah.
I think most of them, 99% is kind of a random number, but if we ended up with 10.
It's a big number.
Yeah, and most of the vast majority are going to go away, and I think it's because a lot of them were created with either an unclear use case or a use case that hasn't proven out, and you already see that to some degree because there's no liquidity, and ultimately in the digital asset space, liquidity is critical to the success, and so we have been fortunate to build our technologies on something called the XRP ledger, and that's done well.
Is the aim still for it to be sort of a store of value so that people can spend Ripple one day? Is that going to happen? Because even at the
XRP,
height, right?
Not Ripple. You'd spell it XRP. I mean, one of the area where I think Dan and I actually agree is, people talk about these things as currencies, and in some ways they're currencies, but I don't expect to go into Starbucks anytime soon and use XRP or Bitcoin to buy my coffee. The dollar works pretty well. My Visa card works pretty well. My PayPal account works pretty well. I do think in some markets, and I would point to a market like Argentina or even Venezuela, where the consumers, citizens of those countries don't necessarily want to hold the local fiat, and you may see inroads in markets like that where these things as currencies start to spread. But when we think about what Ripple's doing, we're using these underlying technologies to grease an engine that needs a lot, can greatly improve based upon speed and cost, how value is moving around the world. But for us, that's an infrastructure layer, not a...
Okay, and then finally I want to show you this. Ripple I always feel like they're trying to get our attention when they tweet something out. Man, the blower is on my porch now. Hold on a second. I mean, these guys are doing a good job, but they sure do have some loud machines. By the way, I got one of those electric blowers at one point. They're not near as powerful, but it's so great to have the little charger, the little battery pack you just plug in and go blow off your patio or something, instead of all the gas and smelling like gas and all that. Okay, away from blowers and back to Ripple. So Ripple, every once in a while, they will retweet something that they've tweeted out previously, and I always pay attention when they do this, because they're trying to draw, I feel like they're trying to draw our attention to something again, to reiterate the point. So when I clicked on their Ripple drop, this is the video we showed the other day. When I clicked on it, mine just happened to go right back to David Schwartz. Now, when I did the Sonny Liew interview, I specifically asked him, why would, pretend I'm a CEO, why would anybody choose Ethereum? From a political standpoint, companies are not going to use proof of work, if for no other reason than the energy problem, because no company today politically wants anybody to be able to point at them and say, why are you using this proof of work? It's killing the environment. No corporation's going to do it. And that's why, and I asked Sonny Liew that question, and he kind of laughed it off, but he knows, and it was very obvious. But beyond that, proof of work does not work. That's why Vitalik Buterin is trying to put out Ethereum 2.0 and get away from proof of work. But think about what the opportunity that is presented while they're trying to get their act together with Ethereum 2.0 for a V-chain. But here you've got two of the smartest guys in this space. Here's David Schwartz, and then I'm going to show you the Sonny Liew clip. Both of these guys are telling you, and Sonny Liew is he's very respectful to Ethereum and all that. But the fact is, even Vitalik Buterin knows it doesn't work. That's why it's so crazy what all these Bitcoin people are saying. Bitcoin will never be anything other than a store of value, because all these people that are pushing it know it. Okay? Here's David Schwartz talking about proof of work.
And it uses XRP to make rapid fiat payments across different currencies.
When you established the XRP ledger, was sustainability a key factor?
This was back in 2011 and 2012, and I think it was just starting to become noticeable that systems like Bitcoin, based on proof of work, would encounter sustainability and scalability challenges. That was definitely one of the factors that went into the design of the XRP ledger. It doesn't require the energy consumption and impose the scalability limitations of proof of work. Proof of work systems like Bitcoin and Ethereum have today encountered significant sustainability and scalability challenges. The XRP ledger's consensus-based design provides very fast transaction confirmations at very low speeds and doesn't have the kind of resource consumption that proof of work-based systems have.
I hear Ripple's launch.
All right, so there's David Schwartz saying it. And by the way, you're going to see these two guys in the same room at some point. Sonny Liew and David Schwartz would be one great photo op. He said he wanted to work with Ripple in the future. Don't be surprised if you don't see that. I believe you will. But I tweeted this out. Proof of work doesn't work for enterprises. Ripple's been saying it for a long time. Further confirmation. Here's what Sonny Liew says.
Disadvantages about the POWs, like wasting the energy, and also,
Hold on, the lawnmower is back under my window. I don't know why he's going over that part of the yard again, but he is. Okay, so 2 times now. One time I was dealing with my 7-year-old, when I was doing the interview. Now I've got a lawnmower that's interrupting this guy who's changing the world. You can't make this stuff up, folks. All right. Pass, and then I'll hit play again. I'm going to start it back over just so you can get the whole picture. All right, maybe we can do it now.
It's about the POWs, like wasting the energy, and also, the mining power or hashing power has been growing lately because just economic motivations, while you don't have to have that kind of the hashing power. So if we look at the root cause, why you need the consensus, which is actually to secure the network. So we wanted to find a balance, like we don't need that kind of whatever the energy or the electricity or the machines to secure the network, but also, maintain the security of the entire network. So, and that's the case also, you got to take care about the cost, because eventually the people who are building application or using the blockchain every day got to take care about the cost. Honestly, if you're looking at right now, the Bitcoin fees, payment fees, it's pretty high. It's kind of like, deviated from the original design or original thinking of Bitcoin, the white paper in 2008. So anyway, we choose a unique consensus is called proof of authority, which can find a balance, not using too much energy, cost, but also, maintain the security of the network. It's the advantage.
So there you go, folks. That's two guys telling the truth about all this. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family that both David Schwartz and Sonny Liu know that proof of work just won't work at the enterprise level. Thanks for listening.